Hello and welcome to the first episode of Movie Basket. I'm Tom and I'm here with my good friend Eugene. How's
That's
it going?
me. How's it going, Tom? What's up?
I'm good. I'm really excited to be in the studio. We have never podcasted before.
This is the pilot episode.
Yeah, you could say it's a pilot.
We don't know how this is gonna go.
What network do you
Two
think would
white
pick us up?
guys with a podcast
Yeah.
talking about movies. I think we are the first people to do that.
Yeah,
ever.
that's never been done
It's
before.
never been done.
I would be surprised if someone's done that before.
Me too, right?
Yeah.
You'd think.
But so Movie Basket is an idea the two of us have had for a little bit now. I'm a film major. You're not a film major, but you
No,
watch a
I'm
good
a
amount of movies.
Communications major, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So the idea kind of came to us relatively a couple months ago when we were watching Wonder Woman 84 together at my
Bit
house.
of a teaser as to what we'll be talking about today.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it should probably be in the title.
It will be in the title.
But yeah, we were watching the movie together, and we just noticed a lot of stuff about it that we frankly found was funny. And I don't know if funny is the word you want to use to describe your $200 million
No,
superhero
unless
blockbuster.
it's a comedy movie, but it wasn't a comedy
No.
movie. It was a superhero action movie without the action, and I mean, quite frankly, it wasn't really a great movie.
No.
Now, it wasn't a horrible movie. We should get that out of the way
Yeah.
first. We're gonna be really critical about this movie, but it was not a horrible movie. I've seen worse. I've seen better. But you have to take into account that this movie had a $200 billion budget, and this was a huge movie. But there was so little care in it, and the writing is so bad that it just lacks substance. It has no soul. You know what I mean? It's just, and that makes it funny. That makes it funny, but not in the way that it
not
should
in
be.
an intended way.
Right.
We were saying it before, we kind of realized before we got in the studio, this is a little bit of a bold choice for our first one. If we're solely dedicated to bad movies, there's
Right,
definitely
which we
easier
are.
targets
Uh-huh.
than this one.
Mhm.
But I think the fact that we're going for something that may be a little more unpopular definitely makes it a little more exciting. Because, I mean, how many people have talked about The Room being bad? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
pretty. we're going to hit that eventually, don't get me wrong. But
and it's also not that people don't talk about this movie being bad, because there's a ton of videos out there people
Yeah.
talking about this movie being bad. But like at the same time, it's not The Room.
yeah. So just to contextualize this movie a little bit, so Wonder Woman 1984 is the second Wonder Woman movie that Gal Gadot at least was in. It's part of the DC Expanded Universe, which is actually recently canceled. We could probably make an entire podcast just dedicated to all the bad stuff that's happened in that
Yeah.
one. And honestly, I feel like we might be back talking about some other DC movies at some point.
In the near future.
Batman vs Superman. I hated that one. But yeah, the DC Expanded Universe was DC's like answer to the MCU, but didn't necessarily hit its stride. Even though they had a great cast, even in this movie, that's something I realized pretty early on looking at the intro card. Like, it is a relatively good cast. You got Gal Gadot, Chris Pine, Kristen Wiig, and Pedro Pascal, who.
Yeah, I just want to say Pedro Pascal, he was a fantastic voice actor. I think he was, out of everyone in this movie, he definitely delivered his lines the strongest. He was the best actor. His dialogue wasn't great, the writing aspect, but he really killed it, in my opinion.
Interesting, because I was gonna
You
say
think
I'm
he
not a
didn't?
big
Really?
Pedro Pascal fan.
Ooh, this is exciting, because I think he delivered his lines really well.
Yeah, I don't know. I think part of it, obviously, is the writing.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna say, I think if we're just looking at performance, I guess Kristen Wiig
Mhm.
kind of did a solid performance, but also her character is written terribly.
Yeah.
So I think
most of the characters are written
I feel like they
terribly.
all did pretty good for what they were handed.
Mhm.
The acting wasn't necessarily what took me out, with the exception of one person who I want to touch on later.
Okay.
I
I think I can probably imagine who you're going to talk about.
yeah, probably. But I kind of lost my train of thought after that. But
Alright, well,
the acting necessarily wasn't the issue. It's almost definitely the writing. Pedro Pascal is just not one of my favorite actors. Maybe I have to watch The Last of Us for my opinion to change.
I
but
actually have not watched The Last of Us yet. I'm
I want to.
going to get on that soon, though.
Yeah, I've heard great things about it.
Mhm.
I'm sure you've seen it on TikTok, the meme of him and Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
It
yeah.
pisses me off. It pisses me off more than it should, and I just don't like Pedro Pascal for that reason. So,
Mhm.
I mean, pretty weak reason, but I don't know. When I saw him in this movie, I was like, okay,
Mhm.
sure.
Let's transition into the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
So the first thing I noticed was in the opening scene, the water looks horrible. I don't know if you noticed this. This is only in the first scene. It's let me paint a picture for you. It's this wide landscape shot of the mountains and the valleys and the canyons, and then it goes and pans toward the ocean, and the ocean just looks horrible. It's only in this scene. There's no other point in the movie where I felt that the CGI backgrounds looked really like outlandishly bad, but specifically in the first shot of the movie where you can see the ocean, it just looks horrible. It looks unfinished. And I thought that was hilarious.
I was gonna say I didn't really notice that.
This was the first thing I noticed.
I
Maybe
guess
that's
part
just
of it,
me, but
I guess part of it too is just the fact that like pretty much every superhero movie now is just how much CGI and green screen can we use, and like I kind of get that for some movies where it's like, oh, there's no way we could physically recreate that, but something that's literally just women running around in the shallow like ocean on horseback.
Yeah,
like you shouldn't need to CGI that. That's a very feasible.
But it looks like
thing.
they did.
Yeah.
So, the first scene in general, the first like the introduction, really feels out of place to me, and also the first. I mean, other than the CGI water, the first thing that I thought was really kind of hilarious was the Coliseum tournament scene. They have this they have this huge tournament right in the middle of this beautiful landscape, and there's thousands of patrons and spectators watching, and there's only one child in the entire venue, and it's Diana.
Yeah.
And why is she there?
So I guess I should just add a little more information for those who may not be familiar with the movie. Diana, who is Wonder Woman, is an Amazonian, and their society is entirely women. So this Coliseum we're talking about is like a gladiator kind of exhibition. And yeah, you are right about that, definitely. I'm assuming that it's supposed to emphasize the fact that like Diana is unique in the fact that she's like beyond her years. She's more powerful than other girls are. So I guess that would be probably the canonical explanation.
Yeah.
But it is something definitely to note. I think definitely the intro sequence is kind of out of place when it comes to the general flow of the movie. But I think it is necessary. It definitely provides a good insight as to who Diana is as a person, because she's not just an ordinary superhero. You know, she has this crazy background story. And I think the reason why it's so weird and maybe even jarring is because of the scene that directly follows it, which I feel like I have more bones to pick with that one, the one in the mall.
Okay, the mall scene is just all over the place.
Yeah.
If you want to get into that.
So just to quickly skip ahead of that intro scene, the intro scene was, first of all, it was 15 minutes, which probably didn't need to be that long. But it was a competition between Diana and the other Amazonian women, and she lost.
Yeah, and also, this sets up one of the overarching themes of truth, because she cheats, because she falls off. She's on her horse, she hits a bush like an idiot, falls off, and then she loses her horse, cheats through the rest of the course.
And then there was a conveniently placed slide that
and
allowed her to go to the place.
Also, though, the fans, the Coliseum was Coliseum shaped. It was a circle. Within the first like 3 or 4 minutes of the intro, all of the people contending leave the Coliseum. The fans can't see them. I don't know if you noticed that. Maybe that's just the sports communication major looking at stadiums.
I know, it's a pretty shitty
but
viewing experience.
It's like, how are you going to see what's happening? All they are watching is flags being raised.
Yeah.
They can't see. They are so far away from where the action is happening, and they have no view of it. I thought that was pretty funny.
I mean, it's kind of funny because it's like, looking at it in a modern lens, it's like, why would you willingly go out to an event that you can't see?
Right.
But obviously it's set decades in the past, so there's not that kind of technology.
It's not a big thing. It's just kind of funny. It made me laugh just seeing like, wow, sucks to be you. You probably paid $300 for that front row ticket, and you can't even see what's happening.
So after that intro scene, it transitions into the 80s, 84 specifically, if you could guess. There's nothing that gave that away.
No, nothing.
So it's now 1984, and we are in a mall, and we're just watching a robbery happen.
Yeah,
there's
just
four
as
men,
you do.
Yeah, there's 4 men robbing a jeweler, which, first of all, I will say, I don't know, I'm not a criminal. I'll put that out there. But I feel like robbing a jeweler in the mall is probably one of the stupidest decisions you can make, as there's endless witnesses everywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The entire mall is just people walking around. So, like, if you're going to commit this crime, I don't know, why would you do it in the most public place you possibly can?
The way they get busted with all these witnesses is they just breeze through the store, right?
Yeah.
No problems.
Yeah, they got
at
everything
all.
they needed.
Everything goes so smoothly, and then they're just walking out like normal with like all the artifacts, and dumbass drops his gun, and this lady yells, "Gun!" And then the whole mall, every single person in the mall, just chaos.
Yeah.
Like stampedes and stampedes. He has this little crappy pistol, and it just causes just catastrophe and mayhem everywhere, and it ruins their whole operation. So now everyone knows what's happening. They don't know what's happening. They just know there's a gun, and they're freaking out.
But the thing that makes it so jarring compared to the first scene is that in the middle of all this chaos, one of the 4 robbers decides that I'm going to turn this into an abduction. And he picks up a girl and he holds her over the side of the railing. And
he holds this random girl over the side of the mall railing, like as a hostage situation. And
the escalation within the first like real scene in the movie took me by shock the first time I watched it. And the only thing I could think to compare it to is, did you see the movie Skyscraper that came out a couple years?
No, I didn't see it.
So we both used to work at a summer camp together.
Yeah.
And I guess you didn't get sent on that movie.
No, I didn't get sent on that trip.
We saw Skyscraper in theaters with a group of young kids that were we were watching. And
middle schoolers.
Yeah. So Skyscraper was kind of a bad movie. I don't know. It was like a nothing burger. There was really nothing to it. And I'll keep this side tangent short, but within the first 10 minutes of Skyscraper, this suicidal father blows himself up and his family. And it's like, oh my God, where did that come from? Like, we just started. That's the only thing I could compare that scene of him holding the
within less than 5 minutes. We'll say a minute and a half. One of the robbers goes from literally playing on an arcade machine to trying to talk the other robber out of dangling a woman, a child, off of the railing.
So the other 3 robbers are like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah,
dude?
no, they have no idea what's happening. They're like,
so.
"Oh, we did not plan this."
Yeah, rightfully so. I mean, I don't know. I'm not gonna spend too much time over analyzing his motive because it's not really that relevant to the movie. But this just allows Wonder Woman to be introduced to us now in the modern lens. She comes in, she saves the day,
as you do.
Yeah,
with her lasso,
true.
which does whatever the plot needs it to do.
Yeah,
we'll touch more on that later.
The one weird thing though is that you see a news report happening right after the situation, and
they're
like, who is this mysterious woman? She's been spotted over a dozen times, and it's like,
isn't that, if I'm correct, canonically wrong?
Elaborate.
Like, okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but this movie is a sequel.
Yeah.
In the movie that came before, isn't it made clear that Wonder Woman like doesn't show herself for like 100 years? Could I be wrong about that, or?
So I didn't watch the first one. Did you?
I watched part of it.
So I think that was a story device. I know the first one was set in the early 20th century, whereas this one's the late 20th century. So I guess you could say that, like, oh, they don't know her because, like, blah, blah, blah. But I think she, like, I don't know. Did she not show herself in the entire first Wonder Woman movie? Was there no public appearances?
No, there were, but I don't know. I could be wrong about that. I'm pretty sure that she makes a claim saying she's trying to stay out of public view for a little bit.
I just think it's interesting because, like...
And then there she is.
Wonder Woman, specifically, I guess Gal Gadot in this role, is a very recognizable person, you know what I mean? If she was spotted over a dozen times, I feel like it's very traceable at that point back to Wonder Woman. So I think it was kind of funny how they're like, we have no clue who this is. And it's like...
Who is that?
I don't know, is DC that big of an area that there's, like, multiple women that are, like...
multiple super women? Like, yeah.
So, that... really introduces us to the character. A bunch of nothing.
This also opens up one of the overarching story devices, and that is one of the antiques that's stolen is a magical wish rock.
Oh yeah, thank you for adding that.
Yes. So the wish rock is the plot device. There is this rock. It's just like a regular rock, and it grants you one wish, and everyone in the world has one wish when they touch the rock. Yeah. So that's pretty important because that's going to be what drives the entire... This movie derails. I would say fast, but it's a really slow movie. Yeah. This is what causes the movie to, like, derail, is this rock. This causes all the problems.
So we see 4 wishes made before, like, the real thing starts. And we'll talk about each of the wishes, but one of the things that really annoyed me about this rock is that it kind of erased any subtlety that there would be in the movie. And I guess let me talk about this character first. So, Kristen Wiig is in this movie. She plays a character named Barbara. Barbara is a scientist. Is she a scientist or a doctor?
She is a scientist.
Yeah, she's got a doctorate though, because I know
Yeah.
that was like mentioned in the movie. So
The most stereotypical like nerd character, also like frizzy hair, glasses. First shot of her is her tripping over her heels and dropping her briefcase, and then the story it needs to tell you, the writing, the great writing needs to tell you she is a nerd, and so all of her coworkers neglect her when she's
Yeah.
trying to pick up all her stuff off the ground, and that really drives in the point that she is in fact a nerd.
yeah, it's just funny because like I get that I get beauty standards is a big, I guess, theme through the movie.
Definitely.
But the way they go about it is just, I don't know. I feel like there's less tropey ways to do so. Because as you were saying, the frizzy hair, the glasses, the tripping, like it falls into literally every single trope you've ever seen of a nerd character in any
Yes.
piece of media. And like I feel like if they wanted to emphasize the fact that she feels like, neglected by her coworkers, where she doesn't feel confident in her self-image, there's better ways to show that besides just, haha, she's got glasses.
She fell.
Yeah.
Dumbass. Like,
I mean, we're both glasses wearers. So maybe
we're both
that's-
glasses wearers with curly hair, so maybe.
Yeah, maybe that's coming from a place of like her. I don't know, but yeah. So we're introduced to her, and by her tripping, that's how she meets Diana.
Yeah, because Diana is the hero and helps her
Yeah,
pick up all of her stuff
So
when no one else will.
the two of them meet, and she immediately takes like an admiration to Diana, I guess is the word you could say. She looks,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
She loves Diana. She
Yeah.
wants to be just like Diana,
which she
which she
vocally
does.
says.
Yeah.
And that's what I was gonna try and get to through this. So, Barbara's the first one to make a wish with this rock. The rock was
Technically, that guy that wanted a coffee was the first to make a wish.
you know what? You're right.
So they take out the rock and they're like, the FBI wants you to take a look at this. Why? Why does the FBI want you to take a look at this? I don't know. They never explain. So
Yeah.
the FBI wants you to look at the rock, and Barbara's like, this rock is worth $75. And then Diana reads the writing on the rock, which says something, you have one, hold your hand on it, make one wish, something along those lines. And they're all like, that's not right. And then the guy walks over, he puts his hand on the rock, big comedian goes, I wish for a cup of coffee. And then he gets a cup of coffee. And then now everyone, and by everyone I just mean Barbara and Diane, they're like, this is real shit.
Yeah.
Because now they know that it's legit, even though this is just like a random coincidence.
Yeah.
Now they know the rock works.
So they have this idea that the rock may work. Skipping a little bit ahead, because I'll be honest, the first 30 minutes after the intro scene,
It is so boring.
it's really
nothing
slow.
happens.
I mean, I get that you got to establish their motives and stuff like that, and you're trying to build the connection between Diana and Barbara, but really, for the sake of the podcast, it's not anything noteworthy.
No.
So
For the sake of the movie, it's nothing noteworthy.
Yeah.
Sure, it builds the character a little bit, but it's like they could have established that much quicker. They could have half the time, 15 minutes.
yeah,
It is a chunk of the movie that is dedicated to just, oh, you want to go get lunch? I'm busy later. And then
yeah.
she turns around and goes, but not later. And then they go get lunch. So,
I guess part of it too is the fact that it took like 20 minutes to actually see modern day Wonder Woman in the film.
right.
So that might be part of the reason why we're complaining. Maybe if it was a little bit earlier, you know what I mean? Like maybe if it was the 20-minute mark then, and we were just kind of finding this stuff out, I'd be a little less critical. But it was very slow. Walking back at night, Barbara is assaulted by a drunk man
Yeah.
on the street, and she's once again, Diana comes in, intervenes, and she pretty much walks her home, makes sure she gets home safely.
And there's also no reason why Diana was there either. She says, oh, I forgot my keys, but it's like, that doesn't explain, it just doesn't make sense why she's there. It's just another, like, convenient, oh, she conveniently helped pick up Barbara's stuff when Barbara fell over. Oh, she conveniently helped Barbara when Barbara was being assaulted.
Well, that might be the superhero thing. Where
That
it's
might
kinda
be.
like,
Yeah. They don't need to
I
explain
mean,
it. It's
the paper,
established.
the paper one definitely is just like, oh, convenience for the sake of convenience.
Convenience for plot.
But the assault might very well be the fact that she's a superwoman.
Okay,
she just
that's true.
knows what's
That's
happening.
a good way to look at it. I've got a very cynical approach on
Yeah, at least
all the logistics, but it is a superhero movie, so makes sense.
yeah, that's at least how I took it. So she gets Barbara back to her lab, and while Barbara is in the lab, she holds up the rock, and she just says everything she likes about Diana and how she wishes she had all those qualities,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where it bothered me because, like, where is the subtlety in any of this? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
the fact that we have to find out that she thinks Barbara's way more attractive, the fact that she thinks Barbara's stronger and all that, which I mean, not sorry, the fact that Barbara thinks that Diana is stronger
And she's
sexier
known Diana for one night at this
Yeah.
point in the movie. One night.
Yeah, so it is a little weird because like they met on the steps, they talked about the rock together, and then they got lunch once. So
Yeah.
to
And
have
that's
that
it.
much, yeah.
Oh, and then Diana saves her. Also.
Yeah.
And then she goes home and she grabs the rock and she's like, I'm gonna be just like Diana when I grow up. And then she turns into
Yeah, so she makes the wish, and she wishes specifically to be as strong, as pretty, and I think as special as Diana
Yeah,
are.
it's
I think those
strong,
are the three.
sexy, and special. Those were the three.
Yeah, she did use the word sexy.
She did use that word.
Which is like, I don't know.
The
Sure, they were starting to set that kind of stuff up where like there were multiple comments about how Barbara couldn't walk in heels, and there were comments about how
Yeah.
you know, well, I guess not comments, but you could visibly see that a lot of people didn't pay any attention to her. So you could that jealousy was kind of building, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the fact that in order for it to really happen, she just spoke it out loud kind of annoys me because like I don't know, it would have been better in my opinion at least if that was a theme that we explored and we let deep into even more. Because later in this movie, the two do confront each other. This is way ahead in the movie, but it
We're kind of jumping around here.
Yeah, it might have been more satisfying if, come the end of the movie, the final act of the movie, the confrontation had to do with like, I always feel like I'm in your shadow. I always feel like
blah
blah blah.
But that's not what happened.
No, so we just find this out straight from Barbara's mouth, and she makes the wish, and immediately you notice an impact as the next morning she walks out of her office, and every single guy in the office is just staring her up and down.
over her. Yeah.
So another visual confirmation that the wish works. And I guess we forgot to mention earlier, other people know of this wish rock.
Yeah.
Specifically Max Lord, who is the main
He is the
villain.
antagonist.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say villain, he's the antagonist. He is the villain,
Yeah.
but he also has qualities where he's doing this for his son.
Yeah.
He's very evil and becomes greedy throughout the movie. But it's because he wants to be the best for his son. But the way they build Max's character is kind of weird because they're kind of trying to go for this anti-hero, like, you want to sympathize with him, but you just can't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They try to make him an anti-hero, but
part of the reason you can't really sympathize, whatever.
He's a horrible dad.
Well, yeah, he's not a good dad. His receptionist had to remind him that his son was coming for the weekend because he totally forgot. But also, like, he's a very egotistical guy.
Very.
He's someone who's very public with his wealth that he doesn't have. And we're introduced to him through
He runs an oil company.
Yeah, we're introduced to him through an ad that's ran over the introduction in the mall. And I guess we should have talked about it then because it would have made a little more sense. But in this ad, he uses the word wish multiple times while describing his oil company.
It's foreshadowing.
Yeah. But at the same time, like, let's just, like, step out of the movie and look at that commercial for a minute. Could you imagine if you, like, marketed your company on the fact that, like, oh, I wish I had oil.
I
wish,
sure do wish that oil would come flowing through.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. It's just...
Imagine
obviously,
a presidential debate where, I don't know, the president was like, no, don't you wish that I could just fix all of your problems?
Yeah,
and then
don't
everyone
you
would
wish
be
that
like,
the poverty rates would just fall? I wish the poverty rates would fall. And then there's
and then he picks up like a rock and he just goes,
there's no plan on how to fix it. It's just, I wish.
I sure do hope it happens.
So, I mean, I get it, because, like, you want to establish that theme pretty early on into the movie, but it's just a little silly to look at outside of the context of the film.
I kind of think, maybe this is me, I'm very critical, if you couldn't
Yeah.
tell, with every little thing, but I just think that using a wish rock as a plot device is kind of not creative. I feel like they could have used, like, I don't know, a different, like, gemstone, something more. It didn't feel like this is the item that brings power to everyone. It was just a rock. It was a crystal, but it was just a rock.
I mean,
I don't know.
I can see both sides of it. I don't want to get too far forward, but kind of like the ending, what they did with the wish rock.
Wishwalk. I wish that I knew how to say my R's.
Yeah, I wish too. I kind of like how it ended with the chaos that we'll describe later on in this podcast.
The ending is entertaining.
I'm assuming that may be more of an issue with the comics necessarily than
Yeah, it
director's
is comic
decision.
accurate
it is. Yeah,
for the most part.
because I don't read comics, but
I did a little bit of research
Yeah.
before this. It's pretty comic accurate.
okay. Well, that's good to know. So that
So
issue
I
may
can't
be,
complain
yeah,
too much about being The Rock,
Yeah,
but I
that-
mean, come on.
That may be more source material. That
That just sounds like
I
a
don't-
kid pitched that like, we have this big rock and it can grant you any freaking wish that you want. I want a puppy. Like,
yeah, it sounds
The Rock
really
can do it. It sounds
cliche
dumb on
and
paper.
tropey. But also, when I think about it, I can't name another movie where there's like a wish rock. You know what I mean? Like what
No.
other movies are there necessarily that isn't like a Disney Channel movie? You know what? So
That's
like
true. It
I-
just feels like
it feels tropey, but I don't know if
If
there's necessarily a
that's
reason
true.
for it to be tropey.
I can't think of anything that has a wish rock either.
Yeah.
But it feels tropey. I guess you can't say it's tropey if there's nothing else we could think of.
I mean,
so.
I'm sure there's stuff that we don't know. We haven't
Well,
seen.
sure. I haven't
yeah.
seen every movie. I haven't seen a lot of movies.
I'm just trying to provide an alternative viewpoint to
yeah,
some of these
absolutely. I'm very cynical.
other. Yeah.
Very.
But yeah. So that's our introduction to Max Lord. Again, I'm assuming the name is comic accurate.
Oh, I'm
Max
sure.
Lord is, again, going back to the whole subtlety thing. Could you guess that Max Lord was going to be the antagonist of the film? Oh my God.
Wow.
I would have never
that's
known.
Big oil guy. Who would have guessed the oil guy is the
Yeah.
villain? That's never
mean-
never been established in anything ever.
Again, that's not the worst. There's a later
No.
reveal that's way worse that I'm going to
Mm.
tear into a bit more. And this is honestly just a nitpick, but
Most of this has been nitpicking
Yeah.
so far. Remember, this is not a horrible movie. We've been nitpicking up to this point, but later in the movie, actual problems
yeah.
with the writing reveal themselves.
I will say, I looked beforehand. I believe it has a 58% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it
Mhm.
had a 2.3 on Letterboxd, which isn't very
It's not
good
great.
for Letterboxd.
No.
But the 5.8 on Rotten Tomatoes at least shows that like
Some
there was
people liked
definitely
it.
some enjoyment to be had, and I did
Yeah.
enjoy the movie to an
I
extent.
enjoyed it too. I thought the ending was pretty good.
Yeah. So do you want to move ahead past Barbara's first wish? You could talk
Yes.
about what happened next.
Yeah, okay. So after Barbara's first wish, how far
Well-
do we want to skip ahead?
Well, I guess we already kind of mentioned it, but
Because we've
uh,
been
Diana-
bouncing around kind of
Diana makes a wish as well.
Yes. She wishes for her boyfriend to come back.
Yeah.
And so he comes back mentally in another man's
Yeah, in
body,
another man's body.
and they're at a party that Max Lord hosts. What is the party celebrating?
It was celebrating. I think he had like a new investment or something like that. Honestly, it's probably the fact that he knew where the Rock was,
Yeah.
and I think
Yeah.
because this is how the Rock trades hands.
Is he kind of manipulates Barbara
Yeah,
into being like, wow, like he manipulates her into kind of getting with him, and then
you could definitely sympathize for Barbara through the entire movie, even as it gets later on.
yeah,
Because even though she got her wish of
She
being
still doesn't
perceived
know how
as
to use it.
attractive,
she doesn't
Yeah.
really know how to use it, and I think it's overwhelming for her. I think they did a good job with that aspect where
Mhm.
she has all this power now, and it just goes straight to her head. She does not know how to use.
I liked Barbara for the first like 2 hours of this movie.
Mhm.
I think while we did say she is pretty tropey,
She's very tropey, but that doesn't necessarily mean
that doesn't
bad.
dismiss the
tropey does not
message,
mean
yeah.
bad.
doesn't dismiss the message that they're trying to get across. And Patty Jenkins, the director of the movie, I think handled it very well
Mhm.
with how she tries to live up into the beauty standards portrayed for
Yeah.
women and how she goes about her life as someone who is a little more, I guess you could say, academically gifted than other
Yes.
people.
Yeah. It's very nerd good, jock bad.
Yeah, but I would say most movies are,
Yeah. Well, yeah, of course.
which is like,
Which is fine.
yeah. But so before the party, Diana makes her wish. His name is, well, I know the actor's name is Chris Pine. His name is Steve, right?
Yeah, Steve.
So, yeah, so Steve comes back in the body of another man, and he said a line. I don't know if you wrote it down. I honestly forget the exact line,
Oh,
but he
come
said,
on.
you know it?
No, I don't know it.
Oh,
I'm saying, come on, man.
well, he says a line to Diana while he's in the body of a different guy, and Diana instantly knows that it's Steve.
Yes, I remember. He says something like, what is it? I wish we had more time.
yeah,
Something like
something
that.
about time.
And because, okay, so back up. We're really all over the place, but back up. We're at the
This
party.
is our first episode. Give us a break.
Yeah, come on. This is the pilot episode. Diana is walking. Who is she? She's looking for Barbara because she wants to find the rock, right?
No, she's
No.
looking for Max Lord because
She's looking for Max Lord.
the box that contained the rock had a note signed from Max Lord, and
You're right.
the characters have all already met at this point. So
Yeah.
Diana already met Max Lord. She has his business card.
And that's why she originally doesn't even want to go to this party.
Yeah,
And then she's
She
like,
wasn't
well, I
gonna
gotta find
go, yeah.
Max, so.
yeah. So she goes for that, and so she gets there first, and she immediately tries to make like a beeline to Max Lord. Barbara walks in second, and again you could see her wish is going as she wants, as every single
Everyone
head.
clears the path,
Yeah.
turning heads.
Both men
like,
and women.
Who is that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you could see that she's starting to feel the effects of getting public attention, and the wish is physically working as it, convinces everyone that she's very attractive. So as Wonder Woman, Diana is making her beeline for Max. That's when she runs into the guy that we were talking about, and he says, "Oh, I wish we had more time," and she realizes
She
instantly.
freezes and she's like,
Yeah. So I
No
thought
way.
that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
I'm assuming it was a line from Wonder Woman 1.
I'm sure.
It must have been featured in there because it was probably some type of callback.
Yeah.
It was kind of honestly the scenes of Steve getting adjusted to the 80s and being adjusted
I
to
thought
being
those
in someone
were
else's
cute.
body. Those are really funny, I think.
Uh-huh.
The fashion scene.
There's not a ton of humor in this movie, but I think, like you were saying, the parts where Steve is adjusting to his new body and when he's in the 80s, I think that's when the movie has just the best comedy element. It's not a
Yeah.
I would not say it's a funny movie, but this part of the movie, it's kind of in this long stretch where there's not a lot happening, but it makes it entertaining.
Which is interesting that it's not a funny movie for two reasons. One, you have Kristen Wiig as a main character in the movie, and
Right.
obviously she's a primarily comedic actress.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think her choice, I guess it's not her choice, but the choice to cast her as Barbara is very interesting. Not that she's never done any other role that isn't comedic before, but
Right.
it's not what she's known for. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And also,
I think she played her role pretty well.
yeah, no, I wouldn't.
Given the writing,
Yeah.
what she had to work with, she played it pretty good.
The only actor that I would complain about, which kind of transitions well since we just brought him up, would be Chris Pine, who plays Steve. I wish we had a camera because he carries the same face through the entire movie, the same stupid face. It's It's like it's almost like a childlike amazement, which I guess, like, in fairness, is
he likes so he's a pilot.
yeah.
Every time he sees a plane or anything space related or anything just like air related, like there's a scene where he sees a logo for a rocket ship. He likes the plane more than Diana.
Yeah. And I think, like, it partially makes sense, given the fact that, like, this is a man who skipped forward multiple decades and is now living in the 80s. So it makes sense that, like, wow, like, that's what planes look like now? But he has that face
The
constantly.
whole time. He's got that face
Yeah.
on the back of a tank while Wonder Woman is, like, getting shot,
Yeah.
lit up by the Egyptian government,
Yeah.
which...
I mean, the first night after the party, the two wake up together at this guy's apartment because it's not it's not Steve's apartment, but it's the body that Steve's
Yeah.
in
Uh-huh.
his apartment, and like literally as he's walking around the apartment, he's got that stupid face on, and it's like, what is there to look at besides the fact that you are in a bedroom?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
He looks at the exercise bike and he's like, I couldn't get this bike to work. And it's like, well, that's because it doesn't have wheels. I
Yeah.
feel like you don't... if I woke up 60 years into the future and I saw, I don't know, something that resembled a bike but did not have wheels, I don't think my first thought would be, that's a bike.
His performance is just the one that bothered me the most, as I feel like genuinely, I mean, again, we're kind of saying that we don't like a lot of decisions they made when it came to writing the film, but I think genuinely his performance makes his character worse than what it is, and I can't say that about any of the other actors. Not that, like, I think all the characters in this were amazing, but, like, Gal Gadot does not take away from Wonder Woman. Pedro Pascal does not take away from Max. Same thing for Kristen Wiig, as we were kind of just praising her a bit for her role. I think he's the only one who actively takes away from the movie. And, like, again, it's just a fact that, like visibly, he had no emotion in any line, and I feel like it kind of translated directly into then Diana and Steve's relationship, because even though, you know, this had been established in a previous movie, you're happy for Diana, but you don't feel anything about the relationship because Steve is so
Steve
stupid.
gives zero shits the entire
Yeah.
movie. Up to where. Do we want to jump around and say the final, like,
No.
Steve's arc? Okay.
No.
We'll save that.
Yeah.
But up until the very end with Steve, he gives zero shits the entire time.
Yeah. I'm realizing now, obviously this is our first episode, so
Mhm.
if you watched this far, first of all, thank you for
Thank
watching
you.
this far.
Yeah, it's
I-
it's
I-
really all over the place.
I don't know if anyone's
but
going to make it this far in,
No.
but going forward, we should probably do a synopsis first, then add our commentary. That would probably
That's
make
a really
more
good
sense.
idea. Yeah.
So, if you guys stick around for episode 2,
This
maybe.
is the pilot.
Yeah.
Have you seen the first episode of South Park? It's nothing like episode
Yeah.
2.
It's funny you mentioned South Park, 'cause that's
I've
all
been
we
watching
watch
a
in my
lot of
house.
South
Yeah, that's
Park.
all we watch in my house. So,
Let's move on. We're getting sidetracked.
Yeah, a little
as
bit
fun
there.
as that is, but
so the party happens. At the party, Max finally gets the stone. He tries to, like, I don't know if seduce is the word, but he tries to woo.
he tries.
Yeah.
He doesn't try. He succeeds.
Yeah,
he seduces.
He seduces Barbara,
Uh-huh.
and he just takes the stone and
He just
leaves.
takes it.
Yeah.
yeah. He like makes out with her and goes, "What's that?" And then
Yeah.
points to the
And
stone.
she's like,
on
"Oh,
the
I
desk.
don't
She goes,
know."
"Oh, I don't know. It's just a
Yeah.
rock. Just a rock." And then he picks up the rock and leaves.
Yeah.
And then,
I mean, I feel like, again, she's dealing with the newfound, like, attention that she
Mhm.
gets after that wish, but
Yeah.
she knows the wishes work, right?
yeah. Oh, she knows.
She's aware of it.
She knows because she's used the wish to get to this
Yeah.
point.
And I think if you, I don't know, if you were in her shoes and someone was asking you so specifically about an unassuming rock, wouldn't that be suspicious that Max knows something more than
Yeah.
you believe?
Yeah, totally.
Like,
And because the way he says it, this is I have this written down
Mhm.
because I'll keep saying it. I'm very cynical, and I notice specific scenes, just little tiny things that are really dumb, and this was really dumb. He is in the middle of making out with Barbara. Just his eyes light up, and he puts both hands like over his mouth and goes, "Oh, what's that?" And then points over like a
be
little
like
kid.
Pogs.
Like a kid, yeah. Like a kid in a candy shop. He looks at this rock that's just on the middle of the desk and goes, "What is that?" You're telling me this isn't the tiniest bit suspicious that this guy is this excited over a rock? You should
Yeah.
if we could put this scene up right now, they
I
would
know.
see what we're talking about. He is giddy when he sees this rock. It's so out of place.
I mean, partially, like, we're criticizing Barbara's decision, I guess, and again, it's a fictional character. But I think genuinely, like, eventually The Rock was going to trade hands for the sake of the story moving.
Right. This
I
is a
think-
dumb way to do it, though.
I think the way they did it was stupid.
Yeah.
Like, again, subtlety, you know what I mean? Like, the fact
Not subtle at all.
The fact that-
What is that?
yeah, the fact that Max had to audibly announce and visibly show that, it's The Rock!
He literally emotes.
Yeah, he emoted mid.
He,
Mid-makeout
he's
sesh.
making out and then just stops.
He hits Orange Justice right in the middle.
What is that? And then Barbara has no idea what to do. She just goes, "Oh, that's nothing."
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I get that it was going to trade off at some point.
Right. It just seems like a lazy way to do it.
I know. I wish it was a little more.
I would have rather if he had I don't know, while they were still all over each other, maybe they just are next to the desk and he just slips the rock into the back of his pocket.
Yeah,
I
like
think
he-
that would
like
make
he
a lot
already
more
knew it was
sense.
there, yeah.
But right, the subtlety aspect of it, where he has to go and announce, "Okay, everyone, this is the part where I take the rock,"
Yeah.
and then he takes the rock.
Yeah, actually, you know, now that I say that, I could picture it like they're in the middle of
Right,
making
they
out.
could literally be in the
and
middle of
then
having a
You
passionate
see
moment,
his
and then you
arm
see
stick
his
out,
arm.
he grabs it, and there's maybe an audible cue within the music that shows oh my god.
Yeah, he
And
doesn't
that
have
would've
to
been-
hit the fucking gritty.
Yeah,
in
that
the
would have
middle
been
of
way
it.
better than him being like, rock, rock, rock. I like rock.
I like rocks. I am such a good guy.
So
I'm gonna make so much money off oil.
skipping ahead a little bit, he's got the rock now. You see the first couple wishes come true. There's someone trying to get his loan back because he invested into the failing oil company that Max was running at the time. To this point, before he had the rock, he could be described as a con man.
This is far into the movie too. This is probably the halfway point of the movie, and we're just now. We're an hour and 15 minutes into the movie, maybe more, maybe less.
Yeah.
We are just now barely raising the plot a little bit off of the ground.
Yeah.
This is what's the word in the Freytag's pyramid?
So rising action is
rising
what
action.
would bring
This is
you
where
to,
the rising action begins. An hour and 15 minutes into the movie.
Yeah. I think
It is a boring start.
I think you could definitely criticize the fact that it took that long for it to get there.
Mhm.
Some of the work they did beforehand, I understand,
Right. You have
For-
to set up the story.
yeah.
You have to introduce everything.
but a lot of it was very unnecessary,
much
and we skipped
introduction.
multiple different scenes of Diana and Barbara establishing their
Yes.
relationship just because, like,
This is like a third of the movie. The rising action starts a third of the way
Yeah.
into the movie, and that's not good.
nothing in
Because you need to hook. I'm sorry to keep cutting you
Yeah.
off, but you have to hook the person in a little earlier.
yeah, definitely.
Just a little earlier.
And nothing in Barbara and Diana's relationship, like, gives us anything besides the fact that Barbara looks up to Diane.
Yeah, no, the
And-
whole time.
Like, again, like, I understand that's how the director chose to make the movie and talking about, like, how women may compare themselves to other women.
Mhm.
But we didn't need, like, 4 examples of it, you know what I mean? For the
there
sake
are
of pacing.
so many examples.
Yeah,
of
for the
it.
sake of entertainment, I
Mhm.
feel like they could have toned back on that a little bit more.
Absolutely.
So Max has the rock,
Mhm.
and one interesting thing that he does, and I think it's kind of cool, is how he wants more employees for his company,
Yeah.
but he doesn't want to waste his wish, so he makes his receptionist.
And this is a very important part.
Yeah, the receptionist touches the rock and repeats what he says.
Yeah.
Because he asks a question. He's like, "Oh, don't you wish we had more people?" And she's like, "Yeah, I definitely wish we had more people in the office." And then, boom, like
More
people-
people show
yeah.
up. They go, "Is this where the job application
Yeah.
is?" People come flooding
So
in.
I will say I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It shows a little more
It's
to
creative.
Max. Yeah, because
It shows the creative element of a con man.
yeah, because I mean to this point I don't want to call him. Not that I thought he was dull, but literally there wasn't much to him besides the fact that he was an oil tycoon and his business was failing.
Yeah.
So to see a little
And he
more,
has a son.
yeah, and the son dynamic doesn't really come back in until later in the
No.
movie.
The son dynamic is introduced and then put aside for the whole movie until the climax.
Although again, not to skip too far ahead, I will say the son dynamic did work surprisingly well, despite the fact that it
That's-
wasn't too prevalent.
That's why I was saying he's more of an anti-hero as opposed to a villain
Mhm.
per se, because you can sympathize for him. His wife left him, and he's they're divorced,
Yeah.
and so the son is each week, bi-weekly, I don't know, they specify it, but
Yeah,
he has
it was,
to spend
it was like
weekends with his-
weekends.
with his
I think
son.
it was like every other weekend or
So-
something like that.
The element of he keeps telling his son that he's going to be great. He wants to show his son that he's a good guy. It works. I think it gets the point across that there are things to sympathize with him about.
Yeah.
He's not one-sided, which I think they did fine.
I think there's 2 reasons why we're saying this. I think one, it's a very humane struggle. You could
Mhm.
relate to it no matter your walk of life, like
Mhm.
aspiring to be more and
Mhm.
aspiring to make something better for
Mhm.
your son, daughter, whatever it may be. I think part of it too may also be the fact that we are guys, and that's a little more relatable than some of the beauty standard stuff that they
Yes.
tackle with.
Yeah, it's kind of
Barbara.
hard for us to tackle that.
So I could say that maybe some of our criticisms of Barbara,
Maybe
Well,
fall flat a little.
yeah, maybe they fall flat a little, and maybe we're giving the son dynamic a little bit too much of a pass.
Right.
But I didn't mind it, and we'll talk a little bit
didn't mind
more
it.
about how it ends
Mhm.
in a couple minutes. But
I didn't mind it, but his name is Alistair. The son is named Alistair.
Yeah.
I think Alistair, in the scenes that he is there, he's just there. He doesn't really add to kind of refute us giving it a pass. Alistair himself doesn't do a whole lot.
mm-mm.
He just stands there and like gets held by his dad, and his dad is like, "I'm gonna be the best." Like
Yeah.
Alistair does not do anything.
Well, Alistair is not really
But he
there
doesn't
as
need
a
to do
character.
anything. Right.
He's really just
a
there
symbol.
to add something to Max.
Mhm.
Because again, like we wouldn't be debating whether he's a villain or an anti-hero if it wasn't
If
for
it wasn't for
Alistair.
Alistair.
Because there is no humane qualities to him besides the fact that he has aspirations and that he has a son.
Mm-hmm.
So I get why it's there.
Mm.
We could definitely move ahead a little bit there. I mean, there's a scene with the invisible jet, which is cool because
That is cool.
obviously everyone knows Wonder Woman's
For the invisible jet.
for the invisible jet. So Steve's flying that.
Which the plane scene is like awful, by the way.
You want to touch on it a little bit
I
more?
do.
All right.
It just kind of weird. It's a little out of place. They have to go to Egypt because that is where Max went. Max Lord goes to Egypt.
How did they find out he was going to Egypt again?
They find out, I think, through Barbara. Am I wrong about that?
I'm gonna be honest. It's something that I've watched this movie twice,
Mm-hmm.
and there's some
I've
things
also watched
that
it twice, and it's
there's some things that I genuinely maybe just didn't notice.
Okay, so Lord goes to Egypt and then Wonder Woman and Steve follow because they want to get the Rock and stop Lord from, I guess, wreaking havoc with the Rock. And so they steal a plane.
Yeah.
And
they almost get shot down.
But
that's
they
the
turn
most
it
action
invisible.
we've gotten to that point too.
And now we're an hour and a half in.
Yeah.
The reason I have a bone to pick with this scene is because it's just dumb. We know Steve is a pilot, but this plane that he's flying is not the same as the planes that he was flying. And he just hops in and can pilot. They don't even touch on, oh, this is a little different and we're going to have some turbulence. There's no problems. He just gets it and flies. And
there was one comment where they're nearing the end of the runway, and Diana's like, are you going to pick this off the ground? And he's like, yeah, I just need a little more speed. So there is a little struggle, I guess you could say. A little bit. But I think
big thing.
It definitely is a convenient thing.
And then radar. There's radar, and that's how Steve is all confused. He's like, how do they know where we are? And Diana's like, because there's radar. And he's like, what? And so the people at the hangar are firing at him. When she turns the plane invisible, they go off the radar.
Yeah, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought that was cool, but at the same time, kind of, I don't know.
That's not I wouldn't imagine that's how signals would work.
It's kind of lame.
You know what I mean? Whatever.
This is the most action we've got to this point, and that's why I have a bone to pick with it, is because the action ends as quick as it starts.
Yeah, you're right.
And then they fly through fireworks because it's conveniently the 4th of July, and this is a romantic scene because it has to be romantic. And so they fly through a big thing of fireworks in the invisible jet because that's not dangerous at all. And they get off the radar conveniently. It's so convenient. Everything is so convenient.
Yeah, I mean...
And it's like the action just ends as quick as it starts.
For a superhero movie, an hour and a half in,
with no action other than
you
kicking a homeless guy who is drunk and a predator.
Yeah. And I guess the intro robbery.
But but that's
still, for those two scenes, both of which were no longer than 2 minutes in length. For those
we're an hour and a half.
Yeah, we're an hour and a half in, and we've had maybe 4 minutes of action in a superhero movie. It's definitely disappointing. And again, I'm not saying that superhero movies necessarily have to be what a lot of the recent Marvel projects are, where it's just nothing but
action.
Fighting,
there's guys fighting guys, causing a bloodbath.
So I appreciate a little step back, but you do have to, there's some give and take.
You have
know
to
what I mean?
Pick it up a little bit.
Yeah,
there's a fine line between too much action and no action, and this is very far leaning to no action.
There's definitely a bit to be desired.
Mm.
Is there anything you really want to note before we get to the main final action of this movie?
Looking through my notes,
because the only thing I could think of is the fact
Egypt
that
scene is kind of funny.
Okay, I was gonna just say before that the only main I guess thing we need to know about our characters to this point is that Diana and Barbara's relationship begins to sour.
Yeah.
So at this point, two of the aspects of her wish have come true. I guess you could say 3 for Barbara's wish. So
but it really comes true later.
Yeah, she went to the gym, and now she has the same strength that Diana has because she was testing out weights. Yeah,
superhuman strength.
That was actually a pretty interesting scene.
I liked that scene, the way she discovers that. I thought they did that one really well. We can't be cynical about everything.
Yeah,
that scene is great. She goes home and she's not very happy. She wakes up in the morning and opens her fridge,
Yeah,
and
and
she
rips
rips
it
the
off.
fridge off. And she's like looking at her arms, like, what the hell? How'd I do that? She goes down to the gym. She picks up a weight, a very small weight, maybe like 5-10 pounder.
Yeah.
Picks up with ease. Picks up like a 80-pound weight.
Yeah, nothing.
Picks it up with ease, and then she picks up
Doesn't she like do a deadlift where she does like a
a clean, I think.
yeah.
So she with like 400 pounds of weight, and everyone in the gym is like just jaw dropped, like
Yeah.
holy shit! Did you see what that person did? Effortlessly, I liked that scene.
Part of
a
the
lot.
reason I like it too is the contrast you had between what she was physically doing versus what she was wearing.
Mm-hmm.
Because she was wearing like an '80s jazzercise type outfit.
They really
And-
put the emphasis on the 80s in only the beginning,
Yeah.
but that's fine.
Well, I like the contrast just because like I feel again beauty standards is a big thing that's touched on in this movie. And if you were to see a woman wearing a leotard and like the tights that they wore in the '80s, you wouldn't necessarily expect that kind of superhuman strength.
No.
And it also kind of ties into the fact that like even though she's now perceived as attractive, she still doesn't necessarily know how to dress.
Mhm.
So I thought it was pretty interesting how that all kind of came together in that scene. And not only was the characters in the scene visibly amazed, but like we're also like, oh shit, like things are starting to ramp up. Like
Mhm.
look at her, she's getting a lot more powerful, getting a lot more
Right,
confident. So I
right.
kind of like that.
She's becoming more special.
Yeah, special.
Which, what
is
does
the word
that
you could use.
mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot of wishes throughout the movie, and a lot of them are very vague. I wish to be special is a vague wish, and
Yeah.
during my favorite scene, and I'm sure it was your favorite scene, we'll touch more on the wishes later and the vagueness.
Mhm.
But a lot of the wishes are really vague.
And at the end, I'm gonna ask you what your wish
I
is.
was gonna ask you that too.
Should we just do it now?
No, we shouldn't. We
All
should
right.
save that because I want to talk a little. Just brush on the Egypt scene. He
Yeah, go for it.
Max just goes in and he just becomes buddy with the leader of Egypt.
Mhm.
Just for no reason. He's like, what do you wish for? What do you wish for? And it's like, first of all, how did you get in there? And the guy is like, oh, I wish
where-
for all the natives to stay and everyone else to go away, and I want all my land back. And then he's like, don't you wish that? And he's like, yes. And then so a giant wall erects and traps in all of the native Egyptians,
Mhm.
and then all of the people that moved there are like forced out, and it cuts them off from all their water sources. It's really like
I would like to imagine that the way Max got in there is like he's just harassing a security guard, and he's like, "Don't you wish it'd go away?"
Don't you wish to go away?
Like, have you ever seen like those like 15-year-olds on YouTube who go like to malls and they just like cause like public problems?
Yes.
Just imagine Max walking up with like an iPhone filming himself, and he's like, "Don't you wish I was out of your hair? Don't you wish I wasn't bothering you right now?"
Yeah.
And the security guard's like, "Yeah, like, could you leave me fucking alone?"
And then
he
he's
just
like,
walks
"Can
right
you
by."
wish that?"
Yeah.
And then he pulls this bit where he's all like, "I'm gonna take all your security," and then he does.
Mhm.
Like it's because one of the things, I don't know if we directly mentioned this, but it's important. Max wishes to turn into the Rock. And then he does. He's like, I want to be the Wish Rock.
And
then
not
he
Dwayne
is the Wish
Johnson.
Rock.
Not
Yeah,
Dwayne
Not
Johnson.
Dwayne Johnson. He wants to be the Wish Rock. And so he has this little scene where he's all like, more power, rah, 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 and then turns into the Rock, but like not really. He just like metaphorically.
Yeah.
Now he's the Rock.
Yeah,
he
he's
grants
not-
the wishes.
He's not physically a rock,
Right.
but he has the power. Of
He
the rock.
now has the power of the Rock, which is hilarious because that's like he used his one wish to say, I want infinite wishes. But also not really because he doesn't get infinite wishes. He can just grant other people wishes. So it makes you wonder, like, why didn't he just wish that he could make wishes whenever he wants? Why does he have to rely on other people? That's, whatever.
Yeah.
But, he's in Egypt and he just kind of gets in and then he's like, well, I wish that I had all of your security. And then he takes all of the Egyptian security and then leaves.
Yeah. So, again, moving a little forward, as I mentioned, Diana and Barbara's relationship starts to
It's crumbling.
sour.
Yeah.
Mainly just because Diana, at least in Barbara's mind, is blowing her off. They're not doing any friend stuff anymore. They're not going out for lunch like they were.
Like they were last night, and
I
now it's
yeah.
second night.
Yeah, I know. I think there's a little bit of jealousy on Barbara's part towards Steve.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That is one of the subtle things. One of the few subtle things is the relationship jealousy.
Yeah.
She's very obviously jealous, but she doesn't go out of her way to say, like, you have a boyfriend and
Yeah.
I'm single. It's not like...
She doesn't like, and
right.
she doesn't take anything out on Steve necessarily
No.
either. I mean,
They did that aspect of her
Yeah,
character well.
I was gonna say the first scene where they met,
That motivation.
Steve actually like compliments her, and she's like,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, thank you."
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
So the relationship starts to sour, and I think you could definitely blame Diana for it. And I guess it is an interesting part of the movie. Again, not we said it earlier, but this is not a truly terrible movie. There are
No.
definitely redeemable factors, and I'm trying to at least
We have to highlight them.
trying to praise the
'Cause we
stuff that I
do-
did enjoy.
We have nitpicked a lot.
Yeah,
I have nitpicked a lot.
yeah,
This isn't a horrible movie. But remember, $200 million budget
Mhm.
and bad writing.
yeah.
It's just not. And it's a long, slow movie.
Because we are about at this point in the movie, we are nearing the 2-hour mark.
Yes.
The Egypt
and
scene, I
we
think,
are
was right before 2
still
hours.
in the rising action. This is not the climax yet.
Yeah.
This
So-
is the middle to end of the rising action, 2 hours in.
Again-
Some movies are over by now.
Wonder Woman, who is a really entertaining, badass superhero, she has only donned her suit and used her lasso once in the entire movie
Yeah.
at this point.
Yeah.
So, I mean, disappointing when you're almost 2 hours in.
Mm-hmm.
But we could pretty much just get to the final
Okay.
act at this point, I think.
Which is the best part
Yeah, this is
for a few reasons.
This is where the fun comes in. I mean, it's also the first time that we finally have
action.
something besides
This
dialogue.
is the part. I was kind of, checking my phone throughout the first 2 hours.
Yeah.
This is the part where I'm locked in and I'm watching. This is entertainment right here.
So, do you want to start? Because I believe this starts with a confrontation between Diana and Barbara, right?
Okay. Yeah. So Diana and Barbara have a little bit of an argument, and that is because they're looking more into the details with The Rock, right? And yeah, no, you're good.
All right, just making sure it's still going.
Yeah. What are we at right
58 minutes.
now? Okay, cool. So we should wrap this up soon.
Yeah, like we
Yeah.
got studio time for another half an hour. We'll
Yeah,
do
yeah.
another like 15, 20.
So we get a shot where they're learning about The Rock more,
Mhm.
right? They talk to this guy in kind of a slum in DC, and they're in a warehouse, and he knows all about The Rock. He doesn't actually know that much about it, but he has
He's
ties.
aware of it, yeah.
He's aware of it, and he has a big book that explains the history of The Rock. And so
How he started in the WWE.
they find out that they're already hinting at this up to this point in the movie, but everything The Rock gives, it also takes a desirable trait. For Diana's case, she's losing her powers
Yeah, she's getting
for
weaker.
Steve to be alive. For Barbara, she's becoming meaner,
Mhm.
but she's also special now. So they're talking about this, and the world is kind of already going to shit as Max at this point has now basically colonized Egypt and America, and now he has so much oil. He doesn't need this much oil. His motive gets skewed at this point, and I think that's probably because the Wish Rock is making him more greedy than
Yeah.
he already was. That's the way I see it, and I think that's fine
The
because
U.S. government's watching this and they're like, "There's that much oil out there still."
we didn't.
They're
get
like
that
they're
yet.
like salivating. They're like, "Oh my
Yeah.
god." you
I
found
wish
that?
that I had that
Yeah.
oil right
I wish
now.
I had that
I
rock.
wish that I had a rock. Anyway, basically, you can renounce a wish, which that's hilarious and lazy.
Yeah.
You could just say, "I renounce my wish," and it'll just go back to
Yep.
how it was. And
Reverse
so,
card.
yeah, no, literally. And so Wonder Woman is like, we all need to renounce our wishes, but she doesn't directly say. Who says that? Because Wonder Woman is still on the fence about it. She doesn't want to leave Steve, but she's playing with the idea.
I don't know who said it. I'll be honest.
Okay. Well, they're talking about how one of the only ways to do it is to renounce the wishes and to get Max. Right?
Well, yeah, because at this point, Max is the Rock.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
They don't have access to the Rock,
Right.
So they got to get to Max.
So they need to get to Max. That's
Yeah.
right. They need to get to Max because Max is the Rock. And then by getting rid of him, all the wishes get undone and
Yeah.
everything will go back to normal. And Barbara is all like,
Yeah.
I don't fucking think so.
Yeah, she's like, "This is not gonna happen."
I am strong now. I'm special.
Yeah, and again, it's interesting for that development in Barbara's character, how she went from this very quiet, unassuming kind of nerd figure as they wanted her to be portrayed, to now she has all this power, but she's corrupt for it. You know what I mean? She's not the same character she was, and it is cool how her character progressed. And again, I mentioned it earlier, but I think it's really interesting to put Kristen Wiig in this role because that's not what she's known for, and I think she did a fine job.
So moving on, now we're at the climax, and the climax happens pretty quick. Basically,
if you could imagine this shit,
yeah,
spiraled pretty quickly.
It spirals so fast out of control.
On like the first
2.5 hours. Yeah, 2 hours. So Max is all like, "Don't you wish I had an audience with the president?" And they're like, "What? Okay." And so then he has an audience with the president, and he's talking to the president. He's like, "Hey, president, don't you wish that I had like
is that what he said specifically? Hey, president.
No, but what happens is the president specifically says, "This is so weird. I thought I was in a whole different place entirely. I don't even know why we're having this meeting." He says that. And then Max is all like, "Oh, this is an important freaking meeting, and I need to talk to you." And so he talks to the president, and he says, "What do you wish?" And he's like, "I wish we had more nukes." That's what he says. He wanted more nukes because Russia had nukes, and it's the 80s. And so he wanted more nukes than Russia. And so he's like, "Yeah, okay, I'll give you your wish in return for all of your control of this country." And so he gives him like 100 warheads, which is like hilarious on its own. Like they just spawn in. And
creative mode Minecraft.
Yeah, literally just like 100 nukes. And then now he has all the power that the president had.
Yeah, the whatchamacallit, the Secret Service answers to him directly.
Yes.
Because the bodyguards immediately switch up on the former president. He's not president anymore.
No, now it is The Rock as president.
Yeah.
And so he keeps going. He's like, "Is there a broadcast room that I can go to so I could broadcast myself?" And they're like, "Yes, we actually do have that." And they have this little secret software that nobody knows about where they can hack into every single monitor, every computer, every TV in the world and broadcast whatever they need. So I was kind of lost on this point, but now he's like, oh, never mind, I'm not lost. So he's like, "I need to go and have everyone make wishes all across the world, and so I can wish for more life. I'll take their life in return for their wish, and I'll be immortal and powerful." And that brings a plot hole, because throughout the entire movie, it is established that you need to be touching the rock to make the wish.
Yeah.
And now he can just broadcast it, and so he's in this broadcast room, and he's like, "People of the world, make a wish." And they do. It makes no sense.
But one thing before we get to the consequences of that, at the same time, Barbara and Diana are physically fighting. So it started in D.C. Well, actually, I guess they stay in D.C. the whole time, don't they?
Yeah.
So it starts there, and they're fighting in like a courthouse type setting. And Diana is starting to realize that Barbara is physically more powerful than her.
Because Diana's losing her powers. Because Steve exists.
So Barbara gets away, and where did she even go after they fought?
I don't think
because they didn't
specify.
I was gonna say they didn't just walk to the broadcast room hand in hand.
No, they didn't. I think Barbara tells Max to leave, and she says some like shit where she's like, "They couldn't hurt me if they tried."
Yeah. So before he got to take the president's position, Max was there in the courthouse, and Diana and Steve did attempt to confront Max, but
and they're winning. They're winning until Barbara shows up because she conveniently just shows up. Oh, and also she's wearing studded leather now.
Oh yeah,
because she's the bad guy.
Because she's the bad guy.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for.
Yeah.
The first time we watched that,
that was great.
First of all, it was very obvious that she was going to become the bad guy. That goes back to the whole subtlety.
For context, we watched it the first time together, and then we both watched it a second time on our own to get a more a better understanding.
That probably makes sense adding that in. So it goes back to the whole subtlety thing because, oh my god, you're telling me the bad guy wears all black with studded
leather and spikes? She's so mean.
Oh my god, I can't believe she's the bad guy.
She was wearing glasses before.
Yeah. What happened to her frizzy hair?
It's gone.
She was a good nerd.
She's so freaking hot. What? Wow, you're really subtle.
So I mean, especially a movie that has dealt so much with appearance. Appearance is a big theme as we've talked about through this. To do something so stupid with the appearance that just gives away your message is.
If we want to talk about appearance, fucking her outfit in the fight scene after that is hideous.
Yeah.
Outfit, if you could call it that.
Part of it is 80s fashion.
It is 80s. No, but it's 80s comic.
Yeah.
Do we want to skip to that part?
Well, I was just gonna say.
If you want to wrap this up first.
I was just gonna say,
So I'm getting ahead of
to
myself.
wrap this up. I don't know.
Studded
For
leather.
something that's
Subtlety.
yeah, for something that's been so focused on appearance, and I think you could say that the seed was being planted that appearances don't necessarily match intent, and you could see that based on how Barbara, even though she gained this power, she still looks relatively the same. You know what I mean? She dressed a little bit differently, so it would have made more sense for her to just stay as Barbara. The fact that they have to dress her up like a supervillain, to me, really undermines what the message they were going for in the movie. And I think it's kind of just a slap in the face to the viewer. Because it's almost like the writers are saying, we don't trust you to figure this out in yourself.
They don't assume that we can
visibly-
understand. We have to see what they're doing.
So that really pissed me off the first time we watched it. You could continue. I'm sorry.
Okay, so yeah, now he's broadcasting. We'll fast forward. This is the absolute peak of the climax. He's in this secret broadcast room, and I've already touched upon this. It makes no sense how he's letting people grant wishes, but he's like to the people across the world, make a wish, and it's yours. And so everyone in the world is making wishes, and this is the funniest scene ever because it's horrible. And so it does this little montage of everyone wishing for things, and this dumbass kid's like, I wish for $1 million, and then this other guy is like talking to, I don't know if it's his mom or his girlfriend, but he's like, I wish you would drop dead, and then she does. And then this other guy's like, I wish I was king, which makes no sense given the context. Because we are full on apocalypse mode right now. It is apocalypse everywhere.
Didn't someone wish for their mom to be dead?
Yeah, I just said that.
Yeah.
He's like, I wish you would drop dead. And then she does. She drops dead. And there are riots. It's full total apocalypse.
Which is the coolest thing that's happened in the movie. Like,
yeah.
The fact that, like, they're like, oh, like, be careful what you wish for. Like, obviously that's used in every movie that has
But
wishes.
these wishes are so stupid.
Yeah.
The kid goes, I want $1 million. The world is, like, at the brink of collapse, basically. And he wants $1 million. What is that going to do? Not even close to as dumb as the kid that wanted to be king.
Yeah.
What does that mean? I want to be the king.
It's so relative. King of what?
The king of what? Fucking Burger King?
Yeah.
Like,
turns into the humanoid mascot.
oh!
But
the crown comes on, he becomes racist.
Oh no. On an airplane? Oh no.
Yeah, I know.
So as everyone's starting to make their wish, Barbara is now, her special part of the wish happens. She transforms into like a humanoid cheetah-like thing. So her entire body's covered in fur.
This looks hideous.
Oh my god, yeah.
It is horrible looking. It looks like a high school play. Have you seen Cats? I haven't seen Cats.
It reminds.
It looks like Cats,
and
that's
funny
not
they
good.
were made at the same time.
Oh really?
Because Cats came out
2019, I thought.
2020.
Was it 2020?
I mean, I don't know. This movie came out 2020.
Yeah. But Cats.
I think Cats was 2020. I could be wrong, but yeah.
Cats was December 20th, 2019. So
you got me.
Right.
You got me.
I'm a bigger Cats fan.
All right. But
yeah. So
yeah,
Barbara turns into Cats.
CGI wise, terrible.
We didn't really talk about this, but all the combat, all the action, the CGI is horrible.
Yeah, the CGI is definitely
Every time
lacking.
she lassos onto something, it just looks like they went into like Illustrator and then picked her up on a green screen background with a mouse and then just moved the mouse to the side and then she like
yeah.
It doesn't look
there's really nothing
convincing. And it doesn't need to look convincing. It is an action movie, we're getting action, but it's just $200 million budget.
Yeah. When it comes to cinematography in the entire movie, there's not really many like compelling.
It just looks like the CGI was done 20 years ago. If this movie came out 20 years ago, it would be a lot better than if the same movie came out in 2020. But we're not in 2020.
Yeah, but
we're in 2023. But
the movie was in 2020. Yeah.
Yes.
It came out in this decade. There was like everything in it was just very safe when it came to cinematography.
Yeah.
Like there was no shots that like subverted your expectations. There was nothing. Again, we were talking about
shock factor.
There was one that could have been great before. Like how we were talking about if Max only reached out,
just reached out and took
grabbed the rock while they were making out. Like that would have been a really cool shot with like interesting camera movement. but you don't get any of that.
And
in
it
the movie.
also would have developed into his con arc a little bit better.
But like even in the few bits of action that we've had, Diana as a kid competing in the Olympic type games, there's nothing interesting in the shots. You know what I mean?
No.
Like everything is just exactly as you would expect it to be, and I feel like
it doesn't blow your mind, and that's a problem for a big movie like this.
Yeah, I guess part of it is just the fact that superhero movies have gotten to a point where they're all so by the number. I'm maybe you would agree. This isn't necessarily directed at Patty Jenkins or at DC specifically, but I'm tired of these superhero movies. I used to be really into them. We are getting way too many, and they're all way too similar.
Oversaturating.
Yeah, so part of it is that. I think they've gotten too safe. There's really nothing that's going to surprise you in any of these movies. So there was a lot to be decided when it came to cinematography. Getting back on topic of the plot. Yeah, they fight. And in the middle of the fight, Diana renounces her wish. So Steve's gone.
Strong.
Yeah, so she gets her strength back, and she's able to overpower Barbara. And she doesn't kill her, but she almost does.
Almost, but doesn't. Because Wonder Woman doesn't kill.
Yeah.
Even though she drops the robbers in the mall off a building and also knocks this car, like, off the road. And also...
Do any of the DC heroes kill? Because I feel like that's an issue with all of them, where it's like...
No.
The memes about Batman being like...
Yeah.
Batman catching me robbing a subway.
Yeah.
Me brutally disabled for the rest of my life, but at least he didn't kill me.
Yeah, Wonder Woman doesn't kill, but she does cripple, I've noticed.
She cripples, yeah. You think that's like a bylaw she has written out? She's like, I will not kill. I will
cripple.
So, she now makes it past Barbara, and she gets to Max. You want to talk about how the movie ends?
Yes, it's hilarious. So they're in this big broadcast. He's still broadcasting, and it's making all the papers in the room fly around. And Diane can't get in.
There's no way to show power that isn't by using wind.
Right. There's wind everywhere, and so Diane can't get in. And there's just the entire world population is just wishing right now. And he's standing in front of a podium, and he's going, granted, granted, granted. And he says that like 9 times.
What did Grant do? Funny. I don't understand.
Who is this Grant guy, and what did he do? He picked up a rock.
Writers did not do a good job of introducing Grant, but whatever.
So, that's so stupid.
I didn't mean to take you that far off topic.
No, you're good. That's funny. So Wonder Woman knows that the broadcast is still running, and so she's talking, like, she does this monologue. She's like, you have to know the consequences of your action and the power of friendship, and everything can be right if you just renounce your wish. And he's all, why do I have to renounce my wish? And she was like, I wasn't talking to you, I was talking to the world. And then everyone in the world renounces their wish all at once. Everyone. It's so stupid. All of them. You're telling me that kid that wished for $1 million was like,
all right,
yeah,
I don't need it.
I'll cave.
You're right, I don't need it.
I wish it was gone.
And I feel like there's definitely...
And it ends. That's how the movie ends.
I was going to say, there's definitely people who, like, how could they haven't renounced their wish? You're telling me that they're still standing in front of the same device that they wished from?
Out of the 8 billion people, you're telling me that all of them renounced their wish?
Well, actually, we missed one thing. We forgot to talk about Alistair and...
oh yeah, he's all like...
this is where Alistair finally, like, really serves a function.
He's just, like, crying in
the room. He runs in...
I wish you would come back, but he already used his wish, so that's, like, not gonna happen.
Yeah, but it kind of, like, that's why Max is the anti-hero, because even in this moment, like, even when he has such immense power, he sees Alistair and he feels bad. You know what I mean? Like, there's a human element to him still, even though he is the Rock and he has all this power.
He renounces his wish.
Yeah.
And
he's never going to see Alistair again anyways, because he's going to jail for the rest of his life, but sure.
The day is saved. Everything is over. It just ends, basically.
Wasn't there another scene with Barbara?
Yeah, there was. Like, Barbara just is like...
You got me.
You got me. I'm Barbara, and I lost.
Yeah.
Dang. I guess I'll go back to how things were. And then it's such a weird, it's build up for 2 hours, and then climax for like 1 minute, and then it's done.
Because I enjoyed the climax.
Me too.
And a lot of the build up, I think, was very necessary for what we had. Absolutely. But like you said, the conclusion is not there.
No,
you don't walk away satisfied.
There's no ending.
You're like, oh, that ended. It ended.
They sure did save the day when she told every single of the 8 billion people to renounce their wish. And they all did.
And like in other forms of media, just being like, oh, they saved the day works. but not when it's a 2.5-hour movie.
Right.
You
There
like,
needed to
I
be a
invested way too much
little
time.
bit more
Yeah, for
in the
too little
resolution.
payoff. But
So-
the wishing scene is very funny.
The wishing
because, like,
scene is
there's
the
so
best
many ways
scene in
it
the
could
movie.
go.
It's so funny.
One of the things that I was thinking of is like, imagine if Alistair didn't use his wish beforehand, and he's just like he's watching this and he's like really into dinosaurs at the time.
Yeah.
He's like, I wish I was a dinosaur. And like Max just watches him transform into a T-Rex. He's like, my son, no!
Don't renounce the wish, and he can't because
Yeah,
he's a
he
fucking
can't 'cause he-
dinosaur.
yeah.
She's like,
Rah.
rah.
Yeah, that's a good point. If someone made a wish like that, like they could renounce.
Yeah. What if the guy that wished for $1 million spends it?
Yeah.
What does he do then?
Well, the
can't-
economy's fucked forever.
There's no
'Cause
recovery.
all
in the
that
economy.
oil is gone now.
Yeah.
Like he made the wish to find the oil.
What if some of that oil was, turned to gas? And now what if that was some of the oil that was wished is now in your car? You're just driving on like
Did
I
the
don't
cars
know,
start going backwards to
87?
make up for the
Yeah,
lost oil?
yeah.
Did you ever see like in SpongeBob when like Mr. Krabs is kicking everyone out of the Krusty Krab and he's like, "No free movie," and he hits the rewind button and it comes out of his eyes back into the television.
Yes.
That's
yeah,
what happens with
it
the
would be
oil.
like. So Tom, what would you wish for?
What would
The
I
big
wish for?
question. You have one wish and it's the apocalypse. What would you wish for?
I feel like I wanted to think of something funny to just like fuck with other people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What if like Max is on TV in front of everyone. What if my wish was like, I wish he had a stupid clown nose. Something that like really doesn't matter, but it is like mildly funny. I think I'd do something like that. Like
that would be great.
he's like, you can wish for anything you want. I'm like, I wish you had a stupid smile. Own him.
Oh no! I wish you looked ugly and
Yeah.
it's just his hair's like a little bit longer.
What would you wish for?
I was thinking, I would wish for. Have you ever been driving on the highway and there's like
No,
a
I've
big,
never driven.
No. Okay. Well, so, I wish you had a driver's license.
That sounded like almost like the start to an ad read. I was like, we're sponsored.
So, when you're just driving and there's like a big Ram diesel truck behind you with high beams and there's nothing you can do. I would just wish that everywhere I walked, my eyes had the high beams. And then I could just fuck with people. That would be so funny. Like if I'm like, I don't know, ordering a burger from McDonald's and I'm at the cashier, and they're like, "That's $9." I'm like, "Is it?" And then I high beam
High
them.
beams on.
Oh, it's free. Just take it.
Walk away, please. Yeah, that's a pretty good wish.
Yeah,
But I mean, you don't have a lot of time to use it. You only had like 4
because
minutes in the movie.
Remember, it's apocalypse, so it's not like I wish I was rich. I wish I was super muscular and was really cool.
Yeah.
Like, why would I? What is? There's no substance. I wish that guy had a stupid clown nose. That's funny
Yeah.
for 4 minutes.
Yeah. Like those people who wish, because obviously people wish they were stronger.
Mm-hmm.
Why would they renounce said wish?
Right.
There's no one. They
Right.
didn't cause this. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I don't know. If I wish for money, I'd be like, well, this isn't my fault. You know what I mean? Like I'm keeping
like,
my
well,
money.
Fucking
Yeah.
take the money. You could renounce your wish.
Yeah.
I've got a yacht now.
I'm keeping this yacht. It
Yeah.
doesn't affect
What if some like high school kid, some like high school car kid, he's like, I really, really want a clapped out Nissan, please. He gets it.
Actually, you know what? I changed my wish. I'd wish it was Groundhog's Day, and the movie had to repeat on loop over and over and over again, and everyone was just like tormented by the fact that they're gonna live through this shitty day again.
Yeah, that would
Actually,
be.
nah. Clown Nose is probably better. What do you think?
Mm,
Clown Nose, I think, right?
Clown nose is iconic.
Yeah, Clown Nose is probably fun.
I would wish that everywhere in the world, everyone had Kevin MacLeod royalty-free music playing, following everyone.
Oh yeah, monkeys spinning
Sneaky
monkeys.
snitch, yeah. Yeah, on repeat, on loop, but like a bad loop. That's my wish. I renounced my wish and I wish again. I wish that
Oh my
everywhere
God.
I walked, monkey spinning monkeys was playing.
I don't think you'd last too long with that wish. I think eventually you'd be like, oh
that
my
would
god,
be
please end
the
me.
most fun 4 minutes of my life, though.
Yeah, for 4 minutes.
4
I would,
minutes?
yeah.
The cashier at McDonald's. Yeah, so that's
Yeah, that's
Wonder
Wonder
Woman
Woman
84.
84.
This was the pilot episode.
Well, I was gonna ask you just final thoughts on the movie.
Yeah,
not
let's
necessarily
rate it.
about the
Give it a
plot,
rating.
but yeah. Well, I already rated this on Letterboxd.
Mm.
I give it 2 stars out of 5,
Okay.
which I think is fair.
I would give it a 6 out of 10. I'll go to
really?
Letterbox scoring. So,
So
what
that's
is
3
that?
out of 5.
3
yeah.
out of 5. I'll give it 2.5. Because
2.5,
here's the
yeah.
thing. It did a lot of things wrong.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, it wasn't horrible. But it was so long and so boring that all the good elements of it are kind of outcasted by
Yeah.
how long it takes to get to them. It's not a horrible movie. I would give it 2.5 stars out of 5.
Again, I feel like that's a reoccurring theme in DC where like
It's a movie.
things are not what you want it to be, but it would be a lot less offensive if it wasn't so long.
Mhm.
Because like look at Justice League. It's 4 hours long. Dog, I am not
I'm
watching
not
that
watching
shit.
Justice League.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not.
You
I'm
can't
not,
get me. You cannot get me to watch Justice
Like,
League.
to sit there for 4 hours and just leave with like an all right movie.
Mhm.
That's way more offensive than watching an hour and a half movie that's straight up
I'm
bad.
a busy guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So I think that's a common theme through DC. There are certainly things I liked in the movie that we discussed multiple times. I don't have a desire to watch it again
No,
now.
I will never.
Now
watch
that
it
I've
again.
watched it 2 times,
except for maybe the wish scene was really funny.
yeah.
Funny from a cynical perspective.
Now that
my
I've watched it
perspective.
2 times, I've definitely been satisfied.
I've
with my
watched it 2
experience.
times more than I needed to watch it.
Yeah, but nah, I
It was
think there's
fine.
definitely worse movies out there.
Yeah, and we'll cover those.
Yeah. So we're hoping to be making this podcast bi-weekly.
Mhm.
So goal
And we're
is-
gonna get some guests on.
Yeah, there are multiple people who have expressed interest in being a guest, which is super
Believe it or
exciting.
not.
Yeah, people want to sit with us.
Uh-huh.
So today is Friday the 3rd. I'm hoping to get this up maybe Monday the 6th or Sunday the 5th.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what ends up
Mhm.
happening. But that pretty much concludes the first episode of Movie
You
Basket.
wanna plug anything? Plug our Instagram.
Yeah,
Movie
you-
Basket.
Make
on
sure to
Instagram.
follow us on Instagram. It's at Movie Basket Pod.
YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube. Well, hopefully they'll be watching this on YouTube.
Yeah.
Or if you're listening on WMR, yeah, definitely check out our YouTube channel, Movie Basket
We're putting this
Podcast.
on Spotify. We probably should.
Eventually.
Yeah.
I'm
Eventually we'll be on Spotify.
I'm not familiar with how you do
it's
that.
not that hard.
Oh,
Yeah.
if you want to, yeah.
I could do that.
So, yeah, thank you guys for joining us for the first
Thank you.
episode. I'd love to hear what you guys think about Wonder Woman 84, whether it's a comment on our Instagram or
Give
a
us
comment
some
on the YouTube.
criticism on our.
Yeah, I mean, you can talk about how we did, but I also
Talk about how we did. Tell us about the movie too.
yeah, I want to know what
Mhm.
other people think about the movie
Because we
think,
could be in the minority. Maybe some people love this
I was
movie.
gonna say I don't think this is universally a bad movie, and
No.
saying a bad movie is a little harsh on this one. 'Cause there are
It's
elements that are bad, but overall, it is not.
a bad
an
movie.
offensive bad
it's
movie,
not an
yeah.
offensive bad movie. And it's kind of also not really a funny bad movie either.
No,
It's just so
very middle
mid.
of the
It's
line.
so mediocre. It's just
Yeah.
a movie. You know what I mean? It's
The-
just another
the humor is
monotonous.
what you find. like-
yes. Yeah. You have to make the humor.
Yeah.
We made the humor when we watched.
Imagining a clown nose. That's how you get the
That's
humor.
so funny.
You're not rewarded with that. In
You
the-
have to be. You have to be. You have to be creative.
You gotta be a little silly, a little
You gotta
goofy.
you gotta be a little goofy like us.
But yeah, thank you guys for joining us. And with that being said, we'll see you back for episode 2 of the Movie Basket Podcast in just a few weeks. Thanks, guys.
Take care.